Yeah, so we're out for a training ride. Thought it might be a good idea if we actually explain why we're doing this. I mean, it's 1,000 miles. It's
1,150 miles.
Okay, it's 1,150 miles. Where did you add 150 miles onto?
You look like you were finding it easy.
Thanks for that.
1,000 wasn't enough.
Yeah. Figure the extra 150 would get some sponsorship, you know?
So we thought, good idea. While we're out, the sun's going down. We'll stop, and Joel's going to tell you why he's doing this, and then why he's convinced all of us idiots to do it with him.
So I think the main point to get across from this is I'm surrounded by a lot of people who've made some very poor life choices.
We have.
And I think they're gradually coming to terms with that, because it's 4 weeks away from when we ride, and none of us are particularly good at riding, but never mind.
You are. Back.
You are, all right. Joe is. The rest of us suck. When people ask why I want to raise money for the Children's Hospital, and particularly what the charity does that doesn't get done by the NHS, I think the story that comes to mind is it was about 2 days after Harry's operation, so he'd be 12 days old at this point, and he just had part of his spine cut off and a tumour, about 20% of his body weight removed, and the surgery went really well. They got it out all in one piece, which greatly reduces the risk of it coming back, but they'd had to basically build him a buttock because he didn't have one, and he had a scar running maybe 5 inches, which on a new body is obviously a decent length. And I'd finally managed to get my wife to go to sleep, which was challenging at best, and obviously she's just given birth and we've been through a really stressful time, and so there was no chance in hell I was waking her up, because she was going to get about an hour if we were lucky. And Harry's morphine ran out. His vein collapsed because he's a newborn, and keeping newborn veins open is difficult, and at that point you can't give him any more morphine because you're worried you're going to give him too much, and there's a big danger there. And so I was cuddling him and trying not to completely internally collapse, because I've got this screaming child who's got a massive wound on his back and he's missing part of his spine, and he's 12 days old, so I can't explain to him, this is what's happening, this is, it's going to be okay. So I can't explain to him why this is happening and what's, you can't, to a grown-up child or to an older child, you can tell them, it's going to get better in half an hour, you're just going to make it through to this point. But there was no option of that. So he's crying, he's screaming his head out in my arms, and I'm trying not to just collapse. And a couple of volunteers turned up, and they'd been in the room opposite where we were on the high dependency unit, entertaining a child who had lived there for months, who was immunocompromised, so they had to get dressed up in a whole suite of stuff to keep him safe from them. And I remember it really clearly. There was a guy with a lute and a woman with a tambourine, and they walked over and they gave me a little look like, are you okay, do you want some help? And didn't say anything else. I just sort of pleaded with my eyes at them, and they gave genuinely, I believe, the most beautiful rendition of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star ever provided by a human being to any other human being ever. And they did it for about 10 minutes, just on repeat with this lute and tambourine and this beautiful singing voice. And he fell asleep, and the guy just gave me a little wink and a thumbs up, and they left my life, and I've never seen them since. And it's stuff like that that the NHS can't do, and the nurses can't do, and it's just volunteers and people coming in just to make what is the hardest part of anybody's life if they're in there. Easily the hardest thing I've ever done is being there for a month. This doesn't even compare. It doesn't get anywhere near it. Just make it a little bit easier. And I remember I was fine, absolutely fine dealing with it, because everything was locked down, and then somebody would be nice to me and I would just collapse into a ball and sob, and I couldn't do a damn thing. Basically I had to stop my friends being nice to me for an extended period of time, because we were just really well looked after, and I couldn't cope with it. I couldn't cope with how grateful I was while I was in there. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing something that's about 1/100th of 1% as hard as being in there for one day. And if it raises them 10 quid, it's worth doing. So yeah. Well, he was literally my child, so...
That's true.
I was there when he was born.
You sure?
That he's my child. Pretty sure.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think
Does he leave his socks down the back of the
he
sofa?
does, and he's a grumpy little sod, so
He's your child?
Yeah, go with that. Yeah.
poor bugger's going to lose his hair by the time he's 20. Why are you doing it, Joe?
Why am I doing it? So I just completed a PhD, which was really, really hard work, sort of very draining mentally. Didn't have a great time. And my girlfriend got a job in Manchester, so I'd moved back to Manchester, didn't have a job, was stuck at a loose end, and Joel came round.
It's never a good start to a story.
And we had a few whiskies and then had a few more whiskies, and then he mentioned that he had a plan to do a thing. There was no detail at this point. It's very, very important to say there was minimal detail. He was going to do a thing and did I want to get involved, and the thing might involve a bike perhaps,
Which you didn't own at the time.
which I didn't own. And I, several whiskies in, said, yeah, sure, why not? I don't have anything to do, don't have a job. I'll do a thing. And then as time went on, I actually realised what I was getting into.
Bought a bike.
Yeah, had to go and buy a bike, buy all the
Start.
gear. Had to learn to ride a bike with sort of like clipped pedals. Fell off a lot.
Left.
Yeah.
Left.
Might want to explain that story for the camera.
And I think, yeah,
Joe dresses left.
the first sort of time I realised how difficult it might be for me was the very first ride I actually did on a proper bike, and we went from Manchester to Blackpool. It's about 68 miles, and I fell off twice, and finished it, but then realised that that was about 2/3 of the average day we were going to do on the bike ride, which is quite scary. But now it's fine because I'm faster than Joel.
Smart, mate. Got a tortoise that's faster than me. Got 2 kids that are faster than me.
But yeah, so I guess the reasons I'm doing it to help Joel out, because he's a mate, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'll go with that one.
But for the challenge as well, I think it was really helpful for me to have something to focus on, to like pour my energy into when I was looking for a job and sort of like getting over my PhD. And I have to say, I've really enjoyed pretty much every minute of it. Sort of going out on the weekends, we've got a great group of people who are doing it.
I mean, we've enjoyed you falling over.
Yeah, everyone else has got a good laugh. But yeah, the support crew are great. The other riders are great, and it's just really, really nice being out on a bike. It's great. I'm looking forward to spending 2 weeks glued to the thing.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, now I am now. Let's do this.
Find out again in 2 weeks.
I was going to say, yeah,
Let's ask again in 2 weeks.
let's do this after day 4, and we'll see.
Yeah. Right, why am I doing this?
Why are you doing this?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I think I'm quite good with challenges. I like to push myself, and after last year of doing one ride, which was one day of 120 miles, I thought 1,000 miles is okay, maybe. Not sure. It's a difficult one to answer. I think it's the challenge of a lifetime. You know, going from Barcelona all the way back to Manchester, we're going to see some fantastic sights, and it's an amazing charity. I mean, the stories Joel's told me about, you know, the stuff they've done for him, they really deserve all the money they can get. And if we can have, I'd say a nice time, but it's not going to be a nice time. It's going to be
Great.
it's going to be something to tell the kids. You know, so yeah, I think that's why I'm doing it.
We should probably trek.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
Let's party.
That's noisy on my inflated tyres.
Yeah, inflated tyres help.
I do, yeah. Well, I still did 17 miles an hour on 45 psi, so that's all right.
Yeah, but now you're absolutely wrecked.
I'm dying now. Yeah, I'm full on dead, mate. Sorry, guys.
Probably one last thing to mention. I think what we're going to try and do is we're going to do this, edit it together, see how it goes, and then if possible, I think we're going to try and do one a day during the ride, so you can keep up to date with how we're doing, how much we are suffering or not suffering, as hopefully see suffering, yeah. And then try and post it. Obviously, it's going to be
Hi guys.
right. Probably gonna be a little sporadic because we don't know what the Wi-Fi situation is gonna be like, what that's gonna be, you know, all that. But we'll try. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram. Have we got a Twitter?
Yes.
We do.
Twitter. Keep up to date with everything.
www.justgiving.com/1000 miles for Humphrey is where you can buy yourself the ability to look a charity mugger in the eye and say, no thank you, I've done enough.
Sorted.